Welcome to the Social Impact Level Up podcast. This podcast is made from the spaces I host every week on the Clubhouse app in the Social Impact Level Up Club. If you don't know me, I'm Wendy V, and I am a coach for socially conscious entrepreneurs. I help you develop your social impact mission, clarify your vision, and turn your ideas into action. Every week, I talk to leaders with a social impact mission about money mindset and manifestation. We also hold weekly spaces for our collective to join forces and change the world. In each episode, you'll hear me moderate the conversation with my two co-hosts, Rodrigo Bravo and Santiago Cáceres. Through this podcast, we hope that you will learn, grow, and thrive with our collective. Now, here's a little bit more about this episode. Hello, and welcome to Season 1, Episode 17, Manifestation Toolbelt. Today, in this episode, we're talking about all of the things that you can use as tools when you are trying to manifest your vision. These are things that you might think are a little bit woo-woo. There might be some things in here you've never tried before. And yes, the 369 mafia is part of this episode, which makes it literally one of my favorite conversations. I refer back to this conversation all of the time when I'm telling people manifestation is real, you have tools you can use, and those tools are usually pretty fun to use. Here you go. Learn about how you can boost your manifestation tool belt. So we're getting started. Today is actually our conversation about your manifestation tool belt. And so I wanted to share with some folks some things that, again, always trying to bring tangible conversations to these rooms about what are we doing with money mindset and manifestation, and how everybody, that we hear kind of talking about it, sometimes they talk about it in a way that isn't very tangible for you to be able to follow. So I want to give you tips, I want to give you tools and things that you can take away from the conversation and try on your own. And so you're always welcome to come and ask questions. I have a list that I pulled up from an article. I always try to pull articles when I can so that you guys know that I'm getting the stuff from somewhere. It's not just me making stuff up and sending it to you. I have an article that I wanted to share with you guys. So I'll link it at the top, and we can kind of hang out and talk about manifestation toolbelt. So I'm going to invite you folks up who are here. And okay, oh yeah, Jessica, you're on your way somewhere. So cool. So today, like I said, we're talking about, hey, Cubana, how are you?
Doing okay. How are you?
Good, good. Welcome, welcome. Hey guys, I'm going to invite you up if you guys want to hang out. So we're talking about how to build your manifestation tool belt. So I am going to give you guys some tips and some things, and you can ask questions, you can give suggestions. If there's something on the list that inspires you to share, say, practice that you have going on, that would be awesome to share. So I'm going to start out with a couple of the basic ones I think a lot of folks use, and then I'll open it up for conversation, and then I'll go through the rest of the list. So I say there's 15. There's 15 tools that you can use, but a lot of them are really related. So they might not seem like the whole list is 15, quite honestly. But let's get started. Okay, so today's room, again, is about building your manifestation tool belt. And I am here to share with you different tips and tools that you can use in your practice of moving towards embodying your vision into reality, and making sure that you have access to these tools. You can ask questions, and whatever you need to know about, I'll be happy to share. So the first one is, obviously, I think a lot of people use this in their practice, is visualization, but there's a couple of different ways to use visualization besides just having a vision board that you can see. I like to have digital vision boards, which is like, on my computer in different places that I can pop it up and just remember exactly what am I trying to manifest. But there's also the visualization of seeing yourself in the place that you want to be at. And so I'll give you an example. I had thought about before June, when I became a full-time entrepreneur, I had thought about spending my days in an infinity pool. And I was like, oh, this would be nice. I really want to manifest that I'm hanging out in an infinity pool, and then I can go and do my work when I feel like it. And then I moved into a new apartment, and I became an entrepreneur full-time. And all of a sudden, I could decide to go to my apartment pool, and they actually have an infinity pool of sorts, kind of, sort of. And I was laying in it one day, wandering around in, the middle of the day and enjoying my day. And I realized, oh my gosh, I actually am having a moment that I manifested seeing. And part of that was then going, okay, well, where do I want to go from here? I want actually to have this pool in my own house that I am able to swim in the middle of the day if I feel like it, anytime I feel like it, right? And so just continuing that visualization to the next level, even though I'd already had this visualization happen before and help and recognize the visualization, I knew that there was still another part to it that I could push forward the vision. So, visualization is really powerful. And I just want to encourage you, if you're not using it as a tool, to think about the different ways that you can visualize yourself and see yourself having the life that you want to have. So the next step is gratitude. Gratitude is something that I think a lot of us have been talking about in these rooms as a practice we either journal or we express to ourselves, or we a self-love practice that we might have is a gratitude practice. So I think there's a lot of different ways to express gratitude to yourself and to others, and also gratitude to the universe or whatever you believe in for bringing you the things that they've brought you and bringing you towards your vision. So the gratitude piece can be done, like I said, in a lot of different ways. Some people do, daily gratitude practice in the morning. They might wake up and say, "Oh, I'm grateful for these 5 things," and that's the first thoughts they have in the morning. So it's a lot of different ways to engage in gratitude practices, and then just wanted to offer that, you can find the one that fits your schedule, fits your needs, fits your lifestyle, and you can use, whatever tools you have in terms of whether it's writing or just mantras and things like that to express your gratitude. Another one is giving. So I think a lot of us also have a sense of, giving back to our communities because that's why we're social entrepreneurs. And giving can also include time, it can include attention. Giving can be a lot of different things. So if you're just joining us, we're talking about our manifestation tool belt, and I'm just going over a couple of practices that you can integrate into your tool belt to help bring you closer in line to your vision. So the first one was visualization. The second one is gratitude, and the third one is giving. And as I said, we could give in a lot of different ways, and it's really going to be sort of up to you what fits into your life and your practice. And gratitude and giving also can be really related as well. And the next one that I'll talk about, but I'm going to stop after that and we can have some conversation, is affirmations. And we've talked about affirmations in this room before, giving yourself, affirmations of self love or any kind of affirmation for the work that you're doing, just to keep you motivated and going on the road that you want to go on. So, affirmations are a very powerful practice, and there's something that you can integrate into your daily routine and, help yourself move forward through affirming what you've already done. So those are the 4. We'll keep going down the list as the room goes on, but I just wanted to give you guys an opportunity to share anything that might have brought up.
Definitely the gratitude for me. I always remind myself of all the things that we've been through and all the lows that we've had, and I like to kind of look back at the lows for strength, and always put into perspective how it could always be worse because it has been worse. So just being grateful for the space that you're in and the opportunities that you now hold um, kind of help you move forward. So gratitude is huge for me.
Ooh, I like it. We are talking about tools that you can add to your manifestation tool belt. And I already offered a couple: visualization, gratitude, giving, and affirmations. And we're going to keep going down the list. I'll give a couple more and then we'll open it for conversation again. So just hang out for a sec. So the next 4 are meditation, which we talk about a lot, as well as a practice. Sometimes people have a difficult time getting into meditation, and there's a lot of ways to get yourself into that practice and to try to bring at least, a small amount of time towards awareness and then eventually graduating into a full meditation practice. It takes effort and it takes time. So be patient with yourself. If you're not, a 15-minute straight meditate every day kind of person, that's okay, because you need to start at a place that's sustainable for you with the meditation practice. So I always try to help people figure out what is the first step into entering into a meditation practice that you could at least keep on, a regular schedule schedule with whatever else you have going on. And then the next one is habits. We talk about habits a lot. We've discussed habits in one of these rooms in the past. Is, habits can be good habits can be bad habits, and habits can just be, how you get things done. And so there's a lot of things to unpack around how you spend your time. But as you are trying to manifest something, how you spend your time is immensely important, because that is what tells you, if you're moving towards the thing that you want to be moving towards, if you're going to be successful at reaching your goal or your aspiration. And the next one is having an abundance mentality. We do have a room, a replay that's on my bio about growth mindset. You can go back and listen to that. But we did a whole room about this. How do you continue to push your mindset forward and grow and have this more of a growth versus fixed mindset? And what that means is that as you are moving along in your journey, you're also learning lessons and applying those lessons to keep moving forward. And that's where the growth comes from. But also knowing that the universe is abundant and infinite, and that you have access to that abundance. And so the abundance mindset and the growth mindset are really, really important, kind of go hand in hand. And the next one is compassion, but I also think that compassion goes along with serving. So I've kind of added serving to this, and that I think that a lot of the times we want to serve others because we are compassionate or empathize with something going on with them, or something that we identify as important to us. And so part of our businesses, our social businesses and nonprofits, are really driven by this idea of our passion and how we're compassionate towards others. And so that is, I think, an important part of your vision and manifesting it, is how do you bring together your passion and your compassion for the people that you serve. So those are the next four. And welcome, Andrea and King. We are just going through our manifestation tool belt, and I'm talking about different tools and things that you can use to help you manifest your vision. And we're just kind of talking about, do we actually use them? Do we have a practice, or do we want to, give an example of something that's been helpful to us? So feel free to share anything. And Rodrigo, welcome back, and Jacqueline, you guys can just jump in.
Thank you, Wendy, for inviting me up here. So I wanted to talk about the meditation one really quickly, because as somebody like myself that has ADHD, meditation is almost painful for me to sit down. So I had to really like delve deeply into why it is so difficult, and to sit there with my thoughts that are always constantly racing. I think at a very fast pace. I process at a very quick pace. And so for me, meditation was really difficult until I listened to this YouTube video from John Mark Comer, and he talks about this ruthless elimination of hurry and how to be more present. And when we think of like sitting still, we think of it being in the absence of everything. But he had this paradigm shift on the idea of it, and that sitting there quietly and sitting still with the universe, or if you're a person that's religious, what have you, or sitting with God, sitting with Jesus, what have you, it's not in the absence that you're sitting in, but it's in the presence of everything, and you're just taking that in. And so when I heard that as like a thought, that you could be sitting in the presence of everything and be sitting still and get closer to what you want to get to, that paradigm shift allowed me to really sit still a little bit longer. Right. I'm nowhere near where I'd like to be on a daily basis as far as meditation. So my form of meditation is prayer, um, and um, to try to get more centered in the mornings. And my little boys and I, we pray on the way to school. We pray on the way back to kind of get us centered wherever we're going for the day. So I just thought that that little share of like being in the presence of everything and appreciating it, there could be that help and that meditation element for your, your tool belt for your manifestation. So I'm Andrea, and I'm complete.
Oh, yes, that's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Andrea. And I think that you're right. I've definitely felt that idea that you're not in a meditative state to be releasing all the time, but actually to be receiving. So there's a lot of awareness that goes into that practice, but sometimes people have difficulty, like you said, bringing your mind to a place to be able to receive or to have that awareness. And I always tell people, you have to start where you're at. So if you're not at that place, I love that you said, you were trying to discover, well, what is the root of me not being at that place so that I can be further along in this practice rather than giving up and saying this just isn't for me. So kudos to you, Andrea, for doing the work. I love it. Anyone else want to share?
I wanted to add, so I've gone through a lot and I'm still going through it. But my therapist has helped a lot, and she actually and I like had she discharged me, which is a good thing. But I also sometimes I'm like, oh, I wish she was here. So I stopped myself and I asked, what would my therapist would like me to do when facing situations that are just like the microaggressions at work and things like that. And something in my last session I had with my therapist was taking a quiz on the type of uh, the type of what is it? I'm so sorry. The type of meditation that I need, because there's different types of meditation, and depending on like what like your style is, like if I just sit quiet, it gives me more anxiety. Like I have to have like a prompt or something to focus on, because if I just sit quiet, I'm just like, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that. And so I found out with one of the quizzes that she has is that I need like a mindful meditation, meaning like sitting down and having like something to like focus on, versus like just sitting quiet. And that's what I can add for now. Thank you.
If I could really quickly piggyback off those points.
Yes, yes, please.
This is King. Hey everyone. So I was having a conversation over the holidays with a possible investor for a business, and I was throwing out so many good ideas. I was getting down to the specifics, colors that I wanted in the room, and things like that. And he kind of like centered me and was like, I really love these ideas, and we're gonna need these ideas, but how much money are we talking about here? And then so when he asked me that, I'm like, you know what? Let's manifest a number. Let's come up with a number that we could equally put up, and let's just speak that number into existence. Anytime we come up with an idea, repeat that number in our head and out loud. And so for the rest of the conversation, we would throw the number out and then the idea. And it really allowed me to, first of all, the number was realistic for the both of us. Um, and so it was like, this is possible. I can do this. I can acquire this money on my own, but I can also manifest it and be open to receiving this money as well in this conversation. Allow that be the seed for this business, manifesting and bringing it and speaking into existence. And so even now that we haven't spoken specifically about the business, whenever I like, for example, that we were just talking about manifesting, I was repeating that number in my head because I want the universe to know that I'm ready for it and that I've done the work to be ready for it, and that I'm going to continue to do that work so that when I receive it, I'm ready to apply that money the way it needs to be applied to run a successful business. And so that's something that definitely has helped me center myself in my big brainstorm ideas, but also just like a motivation, like to continue to do it. So that's my piece, and I'm done. Thank you.
I love it, King. You just you jumped me on the list, homeboy. So we have a couple of them that I was going to bring up, but you just brought them up in conversation, which I love. So I'll speak into the ones that you mentioned. One was repetitive numbers, and sometimes you see this people talking about angel numbers, or I price my numbers, my prices on angel numbers as well. But other people in the spiritual space, the numerology aspect of it is important. But sometimes it's just about repeating the amount of money you are trying to manifest, like literally that simple. And so what you were saying is that part of it. It's not always about the complex, spiritual number part of it, but sometimes it is just speaking the number into existence. And that is the other thing about visualization that you can do is take that vision that you have and then speak speak on the vision so that it becomes actualized. You've verbalized that energy. And by taking that idea out of your head and speaking it into existence, it now has been able to happen once in your head, and then once as you speak it. And as the action happens, it happens actually a third time when the action happens. So there's multiple layers to when you're speaking something into existence, how it becomes powerful at actually happening. So I love that you give a really clear world example of the repetitive part, and then also the speaking something into existence. And there is a quote unquote famous method of manifestation called the 369 method. Has anybody, tap your mic if you've heard of this? Has anybody heard of the 369 method of manifestation? No? Oh, good. I could see. Yeah, Rodrigo, you heard of this?
No, I've heard of 3-6 Mafia, and they got some really badass songs, but not the
I'm
369
cracking
methods.
up.
No,
You're so annoying.
I can't with y'all. Okay. It's not the 3-6 Mafia method.
I
So
stay
3-6.
fly.
Oh my God. I love it. This is going to be great for the podcast, Rodrigo.
Oh,
Thanks.
my bad.
No, it's the best. It's the best. I love it. So 369 method is 3 times in the morning you write down what you're trying to manifest. 6 times throughout the day you write it down, and 9 times in the evening you write it down. So this gets back to the repetitive nature of what King was suggesting. But it also, as you're writing something down, Andrea, maybe you can explain more about this from the educator perspective. Is it kinetic energy that you're using, or kinetic learning when you're actually doing the thing? So the writing has something to do with it as well, where you're transposing that idea from your head or what you're hearing into actual, verbalization on paper with your written statement. And so whatever that is, as you're repeating it, it has the element of coming to life as you've been writing it over and over and over again. So Andrea, what is the method of education I'm thinking of?
Well, with this one, yes, it is kinetic, but you're trying to achieve metacognition when you're thinking about it. You're thinking about the thinking, so you're allowing yourself to get into the deepest state of thought. And writing and repetitive writing allows you to not only memorize it, right, but then it's ingrained in you so that you're always thinking at the highest level, the metacognition aspect of it.
Thank you, Andrea. I knew there was a reason you were here today. That was perfect. Love you. Thank
You
you
are.
so much. So, yes, and I think that that's the important part about the 369 method. You hear a lot of people will mention there was a date a couple of days ago that was aligned with this method. It was supposed to be a portal date, and so a lot of people were talking about it. You probably saw a lot of rooms on Clubhouse about 369 something something, and really, I think I align more with what Andrea was saying about the understanding of how the brain works and how you remember things or think about things or ingrain things in your mind, and then eventually when they come to fruition you're like, oh, I was just thinking of that, and you almost think of it as like a happenstance, but really you've been working towards it with some of the actions that you've taken. So I think that the 369 method is kind of an embodiment of that. The other thing I always talk to people about is Reiki, because I'm a big believer in energy transfer. And I know, at least for me, Reiki has been very, very pivotal in understanding where I am going with my purpose and how to not be frightened by my purpose. But I think that Reiki, for me, if you don't know, is how we connect to universal energy. We all are made of energy, but there are attunements that you can have done to you where you can be a conduit for the energy. So people like me or Jessica have done the attunements, and we are able to then work with energetic healing and with different people's energies and auras and things like that to help them further clarify either things in their energetic field or blockages that they might have, imbalances that they might have in their energy. So that's a practice that if you want to know more about, feel free to send me a DM and I will be happy to go into more about what that looks like for you. And I pair that with crystal healing, because I have seen in my practice that crystals have been very, very soothing to me as a person for the different things that they're used for. But as I have worked more with crystals, I'm able to better understand which crystal different people need or which crystal I need for different purposes. And if I look at the purpose of that crystal and happen to think about why I needed it, they're very aligned all the time. So I use a lot of crystals in my baths. I have them all over my house. I have a crystal wand that I use for clearing. So I have a lot of different tools that I use that are made of crystal, but you don't need to go that far. You literally can pick up crystals pretty much anywhere now these days. And as long as you clear them, and you know when you bring them into your home, you want to some people tell you put it underwater, but that can be harmful to some crystals. So you can put them out in moonlight, and you can leave them outside in the full moon and they will clear. You can also just tap like a bell or something over them and they will clear energetically with the sound vibrations. So if you have a crystal bowl or something like that, or anything that has like a good vibrating sound, you can clear them with that. So crystals are awesome to work with. If you need more information about that, feel free to send me a DM. And the last one that I wanted to mention that's also on the woo-woo side is herbal clearing. I think people have gotten into the practice of using like some sort of herb or wood or things to clear their spaces. You can use a lot of different things for a lot of different purposes, and you can also find things that are more sustainable than others. So sometimes I will clear a house with a cinnamon stick, because that's something that I have readily available in my house, but it's also more sustainable than like Palo Santo, for example. So, you decide what you need the clearing tool for. But if you are trying to move energy around you and to manifest, you can use herbs for clearing. Now, you also similarly can use scents if you're going to diffuse any kind of scented oils, like essential oils. You can use essential oils for different purposes. Some essential oils move energy, some bring them in, some move them out, and some just help kind of uplift you and your mentality and your spirits and things like that. So there's different purposes for crystals, different purposes for herbs, and different purposes for any kind of essential oil that you're working with as well. And I would just say, do your research or ask someone who's knowledgeable. Jessica has an amazing amount of knowledge in this space. So ask somebody if you need help with that type of practice, because you're just not knowledgeable in how to use it. So those are the manifestation tools that I wanted to bring to you. I know Andrea back-channeled me about the list. Yes, I'm going to put, so every room gets turned into both a blog post and a podcast now. So let's talk about this. So we are now part of the Social Impact Level Up podcast. So everybody say hi. And the podcast
Hi.
is yeah, let's put that into the podcast. The podcast, I'm planning to release them on Fridays, and there's already 2 episodes. If you go on Spotify and you search for Social Impact Level Up podcast, you will see there's 2 episodes from prior rooms. And what I've done is kind of stitched together a lot of our thoughts and audio from the different rooms, different suggestions, and picked kind of best of moments from our conversations. So that's going to be where you can get not only this list and the link for the blog post, but also you can re-listen to the most pertinent parts of our conversation. So anybody want to share anything else about tools that you use for manifesting or other things? Anything I mentioned on the list?
Yeah, you're gonna think this is crazy, but the Yin Yang twins were also into manifesting, their thoughts or aspirations. And it's funny because that particular song, or the one, not that song, I they have a song, right? And everybody knows that chorus. It says "to the windows, to the wall," right? But before they get to that, and like King was saying, you got to manifest what you want. So at the very beginning of the chorus, they say 369, damn you fine, hoping she can sock it to me one more time. Get low. So they are doing the same thing. They are manifesting. Obviously, they're manifesting a woman, right? But they're manifesting what they want to come out. So then, before they can even get to the windows and to the wall, and all that other stuff, they have to manifest it. And they do say 369 at the beginning. So I just think it's an interesting little connection there.
That is random trivia.
I, I'm sorry, I'm driving, heading to the gym. Um, Rodrigo I'm gonna like summarize it. I know you were mentioning crystals, mentioning herbs, all this other stuff. How will you navigate if somebody tried to do brujeria on your desk at work, and yet you're still showing up for work, and it's like I'm not that I'm manifesting. I'm kind of I'm in a sense calming myself down because it has been for a while. but I have two coworkers that are like trying to make my life hell. Like literally, like just sending an email of like a reminder is like pulling teeth. And I am trying to calm myself down, but it's just like my my company doesn't have an HR department. We don't have like a company handbook and things like that. And when Tuesday comes around, I want to like say like as we're hiring a lot of new people, because I've been with the company before the pandemic, so I knew like the culture, I knew how we move and things like that. But a lot of people who have been hired, um, like they don't show up to meetings, they don't do like X, Y, and Z, give attitude if you like remind them of like doing some work, and it's just like really I'm like I'm applying to new jobs, right? And they tell me like, oh, like you're someone who like really influences the culture, because they know that I do like above and beyond work, but it's like how do you navigate something? And trust me, like I'm like, you know what? If they don't do something about it, like upper management, like I have to look for new work because they're accepting this behavior. So I'm sorry, this is a lot. I just wanted to like, and I know it was like going from funny to like kind of serious, but yeah, like what are some tools to protect myself aside from limpias and stuff like that? It's more on the, yeah, if somebody's like trying to like harm you and harass you at work using things that you know can be harmful to you spiritually. So thank you.
Well, can I answer that, Wendy?
Yeah, go for it.
So I would definitely say you want to have documentation, so emails, proper channeling. I again, you don't necessarily have to have an HR department, but speaking to a direct supervisor, and then kind of just going up the line. I take this from my experience in corporate and also in the military, that documentation is the best tool you can use to cover your, first of all, cover your own, your CYA. And you definitely want to have that documented, and have like a little journal of situations and instances where something's happened, and then you could reflect that to your email and say, hey, listen, examples of what happened on so and so date, this and that, and just bring it up. And that's the best way to correct it. You want to be able to have proper documentation and proof of like you try to resolve this, so this way the day you hang up your socks there and say, hey, I'm done with this place, and they're like, well, why, what happened? This is so unexpected. Not really. Look at the emails. I send you emails here and there. And another thing I would do is, if you're going to use an internal email, like from your job, for example, once you leave that place, or they think that you're leaving, they might block access to you having your emails. So I would just send the email out and then print it and have that paper copy, because you always want to be able to say, hey, I did bring it up to you guys. This is a toxic culture. I told you what's going on, and you guys don't want to listen to. And frankly, if a place is if they're going to stand for that and they're not rectifying it, then that's a place that you don't want to be in, because they obviously, since they tolerate that, then this is just the tip of the spear. That it might get worse. If Because again, if they're tolerating it, then that's the kind of like workplace environment that they're cool with. Then that's not a good place for you to be. At the end of the day, we've all seen those memes that say, if something happens to you, the next day your employer is going to put your ad up on the paper, your job posting up on the paper. So um, your well-being, your mental peace is number one. So I would obviously say yes, document, start looking for somewhere to go if they don't want to take appropriate action. But yeah, always cover yourself and you come first. I'm done speaking.
Yeah, something I know I've had to do the CYA file several times in my career, and it is very helpful to have documentation. So thanks for jumping in on that. So I'm going to reset the room really quickly. We're talking about your manifestation tool belt and what kinds of things you can use to manifest the abundance you're trying to bring into your life, whatever that is. And I already went through a pretty long list, but I'll go through it again. It's visualization, gratitude, giving, affirmations, meditation, habits, having a growth mindset or an abundance mindset, compassion and serving. I talked about Reiki, crystals, herbs and clearing, speaking things into existence, repetitive numbers, and the 369 method of manifestation. So it's a very long list at this point. If people want to add to it, feel free to add to it. And I think, Cynthia, you wanted to share something?
Yes. Okay, I put a a new thing. How funny, because last night I just made myself this new phone case I got myself my iPhone 13 for my birthday. So I made a cute case that says manifest it. So it's always in my hand now. But I wanted to go off Rodrigo. I saw King James, and it's basically about Venus and Serena Williams' father. And it was just crazy. Like that whole movie is basically just manifestation. He literally wrote a whole playbook from the time they were like 3 and 4 years old about what was going to happen. He literally wrote it a whole entire book, manifested their whole career. It's freaking insane. So you definitely need to watch that. I think you would like it one day. I thought of you the whole time I watched it too. So definitely recommend watching that.
Yeah, that movie was awesome. I loved it. Yeah, it's funny because yeah, he had a whole plan out for his two daughters, and it's amazing what happens when you can manifest something, write it, and speak it into existence, but also put the work behind it. I think that for my own example of manifestation, but before I might let me just share with you guys, when I was looking to get into the military, the first thing that I did all my research on all the branches. Like I picked the Coast Guard because I was like, okay, this is definitely the fit for me. So here I am, all giggity and happy, think I'm ready to go because I had just gotten my green card, right? And I drive to Brooklyn to the recruiter's office, and I'm like, hey, I want to sign up. I have everything I need. What do you guys need from me? But I'm ready to go, man. I even know what job I want. Like I'm all confident stuff. And the recruiter says, so you want to join? I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to go. Let's do this. He goes, go lose some weight, fat boy. His words. And I'm like, damn, all right, that's pretty hardcore, man. So he's like, come on, let's go to the back, let's weigh you and see what you need to be at. And I remember standing on a scale and it said 250 pounds. And he sees my height. He goes, you need to be at least 181 to play safe. Go down to 185. And I'm like, holy crap. And he's like, oh, and by the way, how old are you? And I go, well, I just turned 25. He goes, if you hit 20, I'm sorry, I was 26. He's like, if you hit 28, you're done. The oldest you could get into it is 27. So I'm like, damn, all right. So obviously I had that time working against me. So I remember going home and kind of just like, I could have thrown in the towel right then and there and said, you know what, fuck it. I'm just going to do whatever else. Because up to that point, I had a pretty good resume as well. Um, but no, I went and I said, you know what? I put on my sneakers, I put on a pair of shorts, and I started running. Like literally, I thought I was gonna go run, but I got half a block and I was like all out of breath. But little by little, literally, every time I would go out there, I could close my eyes and see myself in that uniform. And I go, nope, this is happening. This is happening. And sure enough, little by little, I started doing a mile, 2 miles, five, until like 3 times a week, I was doing my 5 mile runs. And then my Saturday or Sunday, it was my long run, which I would do like 8, 9 miles. But again, every time I would finish my run, I would get on my exercise bike, and as corny as it sounds, I would put that movie The Guardian about the rescue swimmers, and I would just see myself in that environment and telling myself, you got this, you're gonna make it, you're going in, you're gonna have that uniform. This is what you're doing it for your family. This is what you're doing it. And sure enough, man, I went back a year and a couple of months later, and I went to the recruiter, and he looked at me. He kind of recognized. He goes, "Fat boy," like, "Yup." And I had gone down to 185, so I've dropped those 60 something pounds. And he goes, "Shit, dude, yeah, man, you're serious about this." So he kind of like sped me through the process because he knew that I went back, I think, in June, and I was turning 28 in March. So he goes, "Dude, yeah, we definitely got to get you ahead of the line because the waiting list is like like a year waiting list or something." So like, yeah, let's push you through. And sure enough, I signed my contract July 25th, and the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, I was off to boot camp. But again, so that whole manifestation is seeing myself and telling myself, you got this, you're gonna be in it, and just seeing myself in that uniform, and speaking into existence. And that's when I became a firm believer that whole manifestation tool.
Those are awesome examples. Thanks, Santi, for sharing that. That seems like an incredible journey. I just can't even imagine that weight loss and transforming your life like that. That's cool. And Cynthia, I love this new case. We're going to have to, where can we get these for ourselves? Are these available on your store? Cynthia, are you there? All right. we'll just assume that Cynthia is selling these. If you like them, you can go get them from Cynthia. So thanks, guys, for sharing those things. I think it's important to have real world examples of how people in our group of friends and folks that we know have been able to manifest things in their lives. And I think, Cynthia, you're right. Like there was a couple things in your story that you were able to bring together, not only about the opportunity, but also just the lifestyle that you want and how you want to, be able to move forward in that opportunity. So I love that example. Andrea, did you want to share something?
Yeah, so I'm pretty new to this manifestation idea and the concept. As I was growing up, my family was what I refer to as a cafeteria Catholic family, where they would go when they wanted to and serve themselves religion, what have you. But something in me when I was really young was like, I really wanted to be a nun. And I was, I was dead set on becoming a nun. And my parents forbade me and said, no, you're going to go to college and you're going to see what the world has to offer because we don't want our child to live in poverty. And I thought, okay, well, this is kind of strange. So I went on to college and I ended up liking it, what have you. And yeah, the idea of becoming a nun kind of left, right? But religion has always played a really central part in my life. And so manifestation was something that a lot earlier was kind of like, oh, that's very taboo within the Catholic faith or in the Christian faith. But then I read an article where a lot of the ideas and the philosophies are kind of similar to it, but I've never been really one to fully understand. Like you said, I think I caught some of them, like the gratitude, the visualization, the giving, abundance, and meditation, and compassion, what have you. Um, and there is like this direct correlation in religion and praying and seeing these things, but leaving it up um, to like you have the faith in God that He's going to change these things, right? So I'm always curious and I'm always wanting to learn more about these things. That's exactly why I ended up saying yes to come in here because I am curious about it. But I wanted to see what your thoughts were and if anybody else has maybe that religious background and navigating between both and the thoughts behind it because it's interesting to me, right? And I find that a lot of people, I like that there is such a drive towards positivity, towards visualizing, towards like keeping a goal. There's a lot of really great tools, right? But then you pull up like all these tips and ideas and what have you, and there's so many varied ways of going about this route. Um, so that's all I wanted to bring up. So I just wanted to say thank you, but also seeing that correlation between religion and if anybody else had any thoughts on that.
Oh, Andrea, I've had a conversation with someone who is very religious about this exact topic. So I'll save that story for a second and see if anybody else wants to talk about what they think about that question.
Can you repeat the specific question again? I was a little in and out.
Yeah. So somebody that's coming from maybe a religious background and the correlation between religion and being religious and the manifestation, the concept of manifestation. Um, have you made a transition from religious to manifestation, or do you live in both worlds? What is your idea of manifestation versus and or with religion?
Okay, so I walk in both paths. I guess. I've never been someone to reject someone else's of belief. Um, but what I do like to do is adopt practices from all systems of belief. Everyone has their own way of doing things, wording things, or like praying. Something people call it praying. We can call it manifesting, whatever. But for me, there's always something to learn from different systems of belief. And for me, I do believe in my system of belief. And I call upon my ancestors, I call upon God, Jesus, and I always there's like a little list that I have whenever I go to my altar, and I'm like, hey, hey ancestors, hey God, hey Jesus, hey Allah. hey Buddha, hey, it's like a whole thing because I believe that all of these things work for good. And so I always call upon, specifically with my ancestors, the ancestors of light and love, and then the ones who walked in darkness and in anger, because both of those sides were conductive to my creation, and so I have to honor both. And so when I manifest in all areas and spaces and in the metaphysical verse because if there's a blessing out there for me, I'm gonna receive it no matter who it came from. I'm not gonna deny it. It's there's blessings out there for me, and I'm gonna accept them all. And if I can manifest in so many different ways, I'm gonna manifest my goals in all the ways that I possibly can. So for me, it's really important to be accepting of other people's systems of belief, but also to learn from each other because we all have something to teach, but we also have something to learn from, And that's where I land my plane.
Thanks for sharing, King. Appreciate that. I in talking with Jessica in her rooms, we went and we started talking about honoring our our ancestors and how this idea of colonial religion, right, was forced upon us, and that we can honor our ancestors even before that. So that's where I think that this idea, like manifestation and other things, are maybe that is something that was something that we denied or that we were forced to deny, right? But I don't have enough on that record. And to be honest with you, for me, I want to have a very simple day, and like if I can just pray and calm myself down and live in gratitude, that's where I'm at, right? So I can't get. I've decided that I don't want to be too complicated anymore, and that I just really just want to have a very simple, peaceful existence. And for me, it's just have more gratitude, appreciate what I already have, and then pray on what I don't have, and that's where I live, right? So I think that these are great, Wendy, and I really appreciate you letting me come up here. So thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks, and thanks, King, for explaining your practices. I think they're very similar to my practices as well. So you answered a fair amount of what I would share. So thank you for that. And I think that what I would add to it is we all come to this practice of manifesting or seeing your vision for your future and trying to get to it in a different way, whether that's through a religious or not religious lens. Our world practices and our world experiences are all individualized for us. And I think that, Andrea, as you said, you want something that looks like XYZ thing to you, and that's what feels most comfortable to you. And I think that's the whole point of offering this tool belt is that you don't have to take any of these, right? Like if something else completely different feels like that is what moves you forward, that's what you do. It's all about your individual journey, and it's not about someone else saying, oh, well, this religious practice or that religious practice is in not in correlation or in juxtaposition to what we're talking about is some other practices that might be more indigenous or practices that might be more spiritual but not religious. I think that they're all there for you to pick and choose from, and as you pick and choose and learn new things and get exposed to new things, there might be something in there for you. And so it's really up to you to be open to having that growth mindset, kind of thinking about new opportunities as they come. And if they do seem to fit in and feel good for you, to have the ability to incorporate those into what you do on a regular basis. And if that means more is less or less is more, like that's up to you. But I think that a lot of us have found that, we have to walk a road that feels good for us both spiritually and, in connectivity to what we're trying to accomplish here in this earth at this time. So welcome everybody who's been here with us to the conversation. We'll go for about another 10 minutes. Again, we usually do this room for about an hour. We talk about different topics. Today, our topic is about our manifestation tool belt and what you can do if you are trying to manifest your vision into reality, how you can use different practices to try to do that. And so we talked about having a visualization practice, expressing gratitude, giving, affirmations, meditation, your habits, having an abundance or growth mindset, having compassion and serving others, Reiki, crystals, herbal clearing, and speaking things into existence, and working with repetitive numbers and the 369 method of manifesting. So those are the things we talked
369.
about. And then we talked about the yin yang twins, which did not, Rodrigo, I want to go back to your yin yang twins reference because it took me a minute to remember what song that was. And then the first thing that came to me was 369. And I laughed completely because I didn't know that that was what the reference was really about. So this is really factual. You've looked this up before?
No, no. What I'm saying, okay, I apologize. That's actually not the exact reference. But what I was saying is when you're manifesting your visions, you have to say them out loud, right? And the 369 method is about repetition, and they actually do that in the chorus. I don't know if they actually intended that to be the reason, or if they said like, hey, you know what? Let's throw in some manifestation stuff in this song about skeet, skeet, skeet. I don't know. I don't know what their intention was with the song, right?
Yeah, I was like, what is their vision for their lives? I mean, it's
But
like, let me get all the video hose I can.
yes, exactly. And so I think it was just funny. We were making fun of it, but then the 369 is the part of the chorus, and it does. It actually, and it bears true in anything that we do, right? The more repetition we do something, the more we go about that, the more likely it is to come to fruition. And it also comes with practice, right? That's the whole idea behind practice. Practice means you're trying, you're repeatedly doing something repeatedly and keep on doing it, maybe under different circumstances, maybe here, maybe there. Hey, let me try this, whatever the case may be. That's what practice involves. It's about repetition. And what does it mean? It manifests the best version of yourself, just like my son practicing his Xbox stuff. But it's that practice manifests itself. It's just like verbally saying, hey, I'm going to be the best that I can be. I'm going to be the best moderator here in Clubhouse. Okay, so you know what? I'm going to be the best moderator here in Clubhouse. And you keep saying that, and you keep manifesting it. And by practicing it and by actually doing the work, you will become that. And it just comes to that. So it's whether it's a hip hop song or moderating here on Clubhouse, or like my son is doing, playing Xbox right now. The more you practice something, the more you're going to manifest it. The more you say it, the more you're going to manifest it. So definitely 369, from the windows to the wall.
I'd like to I'd like to piggyback off that. So I love making playlists for when I drive and things like that, but also for manifesting. So I have a 2022 motivational playlist. But I'm also trying to manifest a trip to Chicago. And so I have a playlist specifically for that, and I have another playlist that I'm creating now that I want to play for when I open my business at the grand opening. And so I do that very, very intentionally with the lyrics, with the tone, with the mood. So that's another way to, help manifest and help push that repetitiveness and that what am I trying to say? That yeah, just like manifesting it forward. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. These have been all awesome conversations to even the Yin Yang Twins reference. Oh, Rodrigo. So I think for me, this has been a great room because it reminds me of how many things I'm doing and that there isn't really a practice that is in and of itself completely working. I think it's all of the things working together. And as I go through it, I think the growth mindset one is the one that to me always has to be the point that I remember because even if I feel like I don't have the momentum or the strategy or the whatever to keep going forward, just going and reading a book or going and listening to a podcast or talking here on Clubhouse with folks, I think that helps me keep going forward and growing and keeps me motivated. And a lot of the time, I notice when I'm in like a lower energy space and I'm not quite moving forward the way I want to, sometimes what I need is just that fresh perspective from somebody else, another idea that then sparks an idea for me so I can get to the next step. So I would say my biggest place to keep working for 2022 is in that growth mindset and continually, finding new suggested books, new people to learn from, and then hearing from all of you guys. Because I think that you'll hear as you look up in the, the podcast, as you listen to yourselves, that everybody in this community shares so many amazing pieces of information. And we often do it just on the fly. As I've listened to the podcast and listened to all of us talk, what I've noticed is that we're talking from our own personal experience, but a lot of the time, the complex level of thoughts that we have and the way that we build on them and kind of grow together as a collective is really, really powerful. So I just wanted to remind you guys, the link is up there in the bio to check it out. And it's really not just, you're listening to Wendy's podcast, you're literally listening to all of us as a community coming together and sharing ideas as a collective and moving forward. And I think it's a beautiful thing. I'm so glad to be here on this journey with you guys. And so, Axel, I know you just joined us. What's up, homie? You can take us home. We were just talking about manifestation tools. So if you have anything you want to share, feel free.
Hey, what's up? I'm just kind of listening here. I'm actually eating, but I'll be here supporting.
Word, word. Yeah. And we're just going to close up in a minute. But we were talking today about tools that you can use to manifest and different techniques and things that you might want to put into your practice. Does anybody else have any other ones that you use? Does anybody actually use crystals or Reiki or any of that stuff, the woo woo stuff? And hey, Alan, what do you want to share?
Hey, I've been kind of like in and out, but have you guys talked about goals poster or like a vision board?
In the visualization part in the very, very beginning.
Oh, okay, because I used to do that all the time, and this room just reminded me of that. And what it is I will buy a piece of paper, like a large piece of paper, and then go through magazines, and then I will cut, like, I don't know, if I wanted a job that will allow me to travel throughout the state or throughout the country. I will cut pictures that will portray like somebody traveling for like a business meeting or something like that. So I will come up with like my vision board, and then once I felt like I was done, like, okay, this is like a good way of where I would like to be within the next year, 5 years. I will put that vision board in my room and I will put it up on a wall. So that way, every morning after I wake up, the first thing I see will be my vision board, and that will remind me of the goals that I want to accomplish or achieve within a certain timeline. And now this room reminded me of that, and I'm like, wow, I have accomplished like 90% of everything that I put up last time I made one, so I might as well make a new one.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, Alan. I used to be a big fan of vision boards up until COVID hit. Probably need to get back on that. But it is a great tool, especially if you put it somewhere where you're going to see it repeatedly. So if you build a vision board and then you put it in a closet, that's not going to work. You build a vision board, and just exactly the way you did it. You could even print stuff off the internet. You can buy a newspaper and find stuff, whatever. But most people do get that magazines, right? You can get magazines for cheap anywhere. I'm not talking about like spending $5 on a People magazine that you're gonna cut up. Go to a thrift store. Go to a place where they have old media or whatnot. They will give them to you for free, or you can pick it up for really cheap. Or you probably have stuff there at home. You can also pick up catalogs. You know what I'm saying? If you go to a particular department store or whatever, you can pick catalogs and you get stuff like that. But anyways, you do that. You cut out what you want. You visualize it, and the bigger the better. And just like you said, Alan, if you watch it and you see it every day and you're constantly thinking that, again, it's that repetition. You get up in the morning, you brush your teeth, maybe right there when you're right next to your mirror, there's your vision board. And your vision board includes that job, right? That hey, you know what? I want to get a job that's higher paying. Okay, you might build a skyscraper or a corner office or something like that, right? Or that new vehicle you've been looking for. Oh man, I want to get a truck. There you have an F-150 2022, electric EV, truck, whatever. You have it all there, and the whole idea behind it is just like what Wendy's been talking about. That is listing it and repeating it over and over and over, and that's how manifestation works. You have that idea, you subconsciously start going for those goals, and you even said it yourself that you've done it yourself. Where 90% of the goals you go there, that's a fantastic rate, to be honest with you, for a vision board. 90% is amazing. In any case, when you put those goals and you actually put them on there, that's a physical representation of the goals. It's no longer just mental. It's no longer just an abstract thought. It is right there. You can see it, and it starts imprinting in your mind, so that when you do come to decisions that are going to impact your future, or you're going to make a choice, right? And that choice may be a good choice or a bad choice, right? Hey, maybe I shouldn't talk shit about somebody, blah blah blah, because now it's going to mix up my networking for this and that, blah blah. Or, hey, you know what? I'm gonna go to that mixer because there might be somebody that I can meet there. Blah blah blah. When you have that in your mind and it's constantly in your mind, you're gonna make those maybe even unconscious, subconscious decisions towards those goals. And so, where you don't have that vision, it's not constantly in your mind. You may think more short term, right? Hey, I'm tired. I'm just gonna go over there. But if you put a vision board and you have weights on there, hey, I want to lose weight, this and that, and you see it, that's a great goal. The last thing I'll comment on that is when we start posting pictures of ourselves improving. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If that's what the motivation that you need, and you need your community support, or you just want to see yourself improving, there is nothing fucking wrong with that. I really despise when people discourage people from doing that. Maybe that's not the way you do it. That's okay. That's not a problem. But if somebody posts a picture and they say, man, down 14 pounds, right? And they feel proud of it, well, guess what? That's a goal and an achievement for them. They've hit a milestone that they didn't know that they were going to hit. And community will support them, the friends will support them, but more importantly, that person supports it. They see themselves, they see the vision, and they are manifesting that vision. That way, time down the line, maybe 1 month, 10 months, maybe 2 years, when they post that before picture and that after picture, they know that they manifested that vision, that it wasn't just a vision, that they made it into reality because they had a vision board, or they had an actual representation of that thought in their mind. So that's a great idea, that regarding vision boards, writing them down, cutting them out, and making sure that you see them, and employing that repetitiveness of manifestation.
And to add a little bit to that, something that I did recently, I kind of cleaned up my Instagram stories. There will be times that I will see stuff and I will question. I will wonder, like, why am I following this account? And so I cleaned it up. Now I see things that are more aligned with what I would like to be seeing. And from time to time, I'll be laying down like all lazy, like I don't want to go to the gym today. But then I see one of my friends went to the gym and they posted their selfie. That encourages me to get out of the bed and hit up the gym and get my daily workout done.
I love that, Alan, because you reminded me I should have added community to this list. I think community is a big part of manifesting as well. And as we all kind of talk about the things here, we know that, it's not only accountability, but Jessica's coming up. It's only accountability, but it's also that we, are really trying to, make sure that these things actually happen for ourselves. And if we can help facilitate that for each other, that's really what, community is here to do. So, Rodrigo, I love your PTR. Hey, Jessica, we were wrapping up the room with talking about manifestation tools for your manifestation tool belt. And we went through a whole bunch of different, I think I put together a list of about 15 things. I'm adding community to it. But we are happy to have you share whatever you want to share. And we were just kind of connecting around what Alan was talking about with the vision board. And Alan, I will tell you, my vision board is, I mentioned before that I accidentally put my vision board in the back of the closet, like Rodrigo said, for like a year. And now that it's out, the biggest words on my vision board are steer clear of bad advice. And I think that as I was starting my business, that was a big part for me, was who am I going to listen to help me? I knew I needed help, but I wanted the right voice and the right community. And I was really fortunate for finding my coach here on Clubhouse, because she was able to not only demonstrate to me when someone was giving me bad advice, but then also to help me clarify what I needed and to move forward in a place that I was confident about. And so I will always offer to folks that not only are you visualizing what you want, but in some ways you're also visualizing for yourself the things that you want as you go along, which is, I don't want people who are giving me bad advice. So just kind of thinking about, building those vision boards to have the vision that you want, but also the things that you don't want, and say that, I don't want these things, because that also helps the universe to know not to bring those things to you. So Jessica, do you want to take us home and share anything?
Yeah, no, I love what you said about having the right voices. And I think that that's really important when you are, building your vision, because a lot of times there's a lot of people who have a lot of opinions in certain spaces. But I think it's really important to have individuals with credentials that can kind of really speak to a specific niche that you're trying to focus on. And I know Rodrigo and I were in a conversation earlier where we were talking about that, like,
there's a lot of spaces in here where they have people with a lot of opinions, but then there's no one with the credentials to back up the information. So it can get a little chaotic in the conversation. And I think that it's really, really important to have individuals who know what they're talking about, but also have the facts to back it up. So that way, when you do something, you can always manipulate it to where it can work for you, but still have that influence of the person that you respect, or that you really look up to. Because in some ways, like, we all have like individuals that we really, really respect and that we really admire, and we love the way that their business is flourishing. And, when we can kind of lean into those voices, it saves us the work that, can the trip ups within the work kind of space that we're in. So yeah, I think that the voices, I'm just gonna kind of second in on that. I think that that's really, really important and super, super helpful.
Yes, I'm always grateful for all of you guys lending your voices to this space, because I think collectively we have a lot of really cool people in this group, and it's always nice to see you guys. Now that you've joined our community by listening to this podcast episode, I want to welcome you to participate in a conversation with our collective very soon. If you're not on the Clubhouse app, you can connect to me on any social media platform as Wendy Veloz, Veloz. I'd like to thank everyone in our community who participated in this episode, and especially my partners in crime, Santiago and Rodrigo. Until next episode, keep changing the world.